Hello, today we will be learning about scatter plots, a type of graphical display. My name is Harrison Hill, and along with my group members Joy Sawyer and Shalini Sharma, we will be giving you a mini lesson on this graph. So, just to start off the lesson, here's a little background information on scatter plots. They are used to summarize a set of bivariable data. Each point of the scatter plot represents an ordered pair xy, where x is the explanatory variable and y is the response variable. We call x the explanatory variable because it attempts to explain the response variable or the outcome of the study. To graph a scatter plot, first draw an x and y axis, label the axes, and graph the data points. When analyzing a scatter plot, describe the form, linear or nonlinear, direction, negative or positive, and shape. Use R, the correlation coefficient, to measure the direction and strength of a linear relationship between two quantitative variables. You can find R by using your calculator, which we will discuss later in the video. When R equals 0, it indicates no correlation or linear relationship. Since R only measures strength for linear relationships, you can still have a relationship that is nonlinear if R equals 0. Therefore, when R equals positive or negative 1, it indicates a perfectly linear relationship between two variables. The closer R is to positive or negative 1, the stronger the relationship. A linear relationship means that the value of one of the variables depends on the value of the other variable. Also, R must be between positive and negative 1, and it is heavily influenced by outliers. It is not affected if you switch x and y, nor if you change the units. We can use scatter plots and the correlation coefficient to determine how strong of an association two quantitative variables have with each other. However, the scatter plot may show that a relationship exists. It cannot prove that one variable is causing the other. So let's apply what we've learned to an example problem. Here, we are trying to find how strong of a relationship the two quantitative variables, days after AP exams and number of absences around Northwest, have. First, put these points into your calculator by going to Stat, Edit, and inserting the data into L1 for X and L2 for Y. For the sake of time, we've already inserted them into the calculator. To graph the points by hand, which we have done on the sheet, simply look at the data and plot the ordered pairs corresponding to the correct axes. Another alternative is to sketch the scatter plot from your calculator onto your paper. To do this, go to Second, Y equals, and turn Plot 1 on before clicking the first graph type shown. Then hit Zoom 9 to view the scatter plot. It should look almost identical to the graph we've previously done by hand. If not, check that your scales are at 1 unit intervals. To find the correlation coefficient, hit second 0 and scroll down until you see Diagnostic on. Once you press Enter, press Stat Calc 8, and the linear regression line will appear along with the correlation coefficient. In this problem, R equals 0.96. Therefore, if we were to briefly describe this graph, we would say that the scatter plot shows a positive, linear, and strong association between days after AP exams and number of absences. Here's another problem to try. A teacher surveyed her students about the amount of physical activity they got each week. She then had them take an IQ test to measure her knowledge. Use her data to make a scatter plot and describe the relationship. When working this out, you should use the same steps as the previous problem to graph and sketch the scatter plot. Once you sketch the graph, it should appear as a shapeless cloud of points. This graph has an R of negative 0.17, indicating that the scatter plot shows a negative weekly linear relationship between number of hours of exercise and IQ score. Since R is so small and close to 0, the two variables are almost uncorrelated. To test whether you have grasped the concept of scatter plots and relationships shown by the correlation coefficient, we have come up with an assessment question. So, identify the number of songs downloaded onto your iPod and the amount of memory available as having a positive, negative, or no correlation. The answer is negative correlation. And as our video comes to a close, we would like to show how each of us contributed to the video, with myself, Harrison Hill, being a writer and speaker, Shalini Sharma being a writer and videographer, and Joey Sawyer being a writer and slider.
Thank you for watching.